All right, Alex, I figured it'd be faster to just go ahead and make, a quick video than going back and forth between text messages. One thing right away that I want you to make an adjustment with in your setup is your lower body setup here. Your knees are kind of pinching in, towards each other here, and we've talked about that before, and that sort of braced lower body action is going to stifle the motion and the movement that we're trying to create in the golf swing. We're not going to be able to rotate as well. The hand path's not going to be able to get as deep, and that's a quick, easy adjustment. If you look over here on the right, you'll see Charley Hoffman, who plays a very, very predictable, who can curve the ball both ways, but he likes to play a draw. You'll see the knees. I want the knees to basically point in the direction that the feet are pointing. To do that, these upper thigh bones are kind of actually externally rotated a little bit in opposite directions of each other. So you want to feel like you're a little bit wide in the knees. You're riding a horse, whatever, however you want to describe it. But you don't want those knees pinching in towards each other. Okay, and that's a quick, easy adjustment. The bottom line as to why you cannot create enough rightward path to draw the ball consistently is that your pressure does not get far enough forward soon enough, or continue to move forward long enough. Okay, and I'll give you an illustration of that. I've drawn some lines down here on the bottom of the screen that just kind of show, a very rough looking picture of the club moving on an arc. And I've got the golf ball right in the center of that arc. And the point I want to make, or the illustration I want to make, is that your body's basically got two centers. Let's call the lower center just a point right somewhere in the middle of your pelvis where your belt buckle would be. And then your upper center would be sort of the center of your chest and your sternum area, throat area. Okay. The further that this lower center moves forward in the downswing, the more the relationship with this circle that's on the ground is going to change. It's effectively going to move the ball position, and it'll move the ball position relatively back in your stance. So what I mean by that is, so where you are at address, the ball's right in the middle of the curve, so it'd be, the point of the point of tangency right there would be dead straight. So your club path, if you came to impact right there, your club path would actually be traveling pretty darn straight toward the target. So we could expect to hit the ball straight, or maybe with a slight fade. But the more you move those swing centers forward, effectively, I'll just place a ball back here, it would move the ball back in your stance. Okay? And that's an artificial way of moving the ball back in your stance. And you can see that if the club were to make contact with the ball, where it's at right now, just draw a little club there, that the club would actually be traveling more to the right of the target line. Okay? So, I'm doing my best to draw lines on the screen and kind of explain this to you, but I want to give you an illustration and show you what an active lower body or an active pressure shift looks like. So when we look at yours, to the top of the backswing, everything looks great, Alex. I mean, this is a really, really good looking position. There's a couple of things that I really like. I like how your left knee has rotated inward, sort of behind the ball. That's allowing a very free hip turn. And if you look at, Charley over here on the right, you'll see a very similar position to where you're at. His left knee doesn't internally rotate quite as much. He's a little more restricted in his hip turn. But the key thing I want you to look at is changes in the difference in the downstroke. Okay? I'm going to stop you about left arm parallel to ground. So you can see that the left knee is still, it started to externally rotate toward the target, but it's not quite out far enough, and the gap between your knees is not very wide. It's like your right knee is chasing your left knee. Alright, if you look at Charley, you'll see more of a squat, and you'll see more width between those knees. So you can see that he's clearly got maybe a little more pressure on his lead foot or left foot, but you can see that the left knee is in a completely kind of different alignment. This left knee is working to get back out over this left foot, whereas your left knee is still, kind of somewhere back here. Okay, so what I want you to key on is more external rotation, and that would be rotation of your left leg in this direction at the start of your downswing. Okay, and then as we bring the club on down to last parallel, you've got a little more lateral movement, getting a little more pressure on your left side, but in comparison to Charlie, you can see still a pretty big difference. Here's his last parallel. Okay, you can see he's got way more pressure. The pelvis is more forward. Because the pelvis is more forward in this direction, you can see more of what we call secondary axis tilt, and that's the spine tilting to the right. Now, the more that spine tilts to the right, I don't have to tell you, the more the club path is traveling in this direction, to the right. You, on the other hand, you got a little bit of tilt, you got a little bit of all of these things. We just need to increase a few of these things to make you be able to draw the ball much, much easier. And if we look at just the last quick peek at impact, here's a look at your impact. Can't quite stop Charlie at impact. That's prior to. You can see his hips are much, much more forward, much more pressure on the lead side, a little more axis tilt in the spine. Okay, so that's what I want to recap for you. What I want you to do is, from the top, I want you to feel more external rotation of that left knee so that you go into a bit of a squat, and then you just continue to push the pelvis forward, up and forward through the hit. So, through this part of the swing here, I'm just going to go back and forth. Boom, boom. Continue to push it up and forward. Don't let the pelvis stay down. If you push the pelvis up and forward, this overtaking rate of the club this flip is going to slow down.